You might think that identifying who the project customer is might be obvious, but that's not always true. So, one of the first things you need to identify is who is the project customer. First, the customer wants the results that the project can deliver. That means the customer is motivated to support the project to help it finish successfully. Second, the project customer helps define what the project is supposed to achieve. Third, the customer usually provides the funding for the project. With the fitness studio relocation example, the studio owner is motivated to make the project a success because the relocation is going to help her business grow for the next several years. The owner understands her business, so she contributes significantly to defining the goal, objectives, and deliverables. Finally, the money for the relocation will come from the profits of the company or a small business loan, so the owner is instrumental to funding the project. So in this case, it's easy to see that the owner is the customer. If the customer isn't immediately obvious, two questions can help. First, ask who's paying. Whoever pays for a project has a lot of control over what happens and could be the project customer, but not always. Within a larger company, funding could come from higher in the organization. For example, the sales department might initiate a project to produce new materials, but the funding could come from the marketing department. The next question is, who approves the project? When funding and approval aren't connected, approvals typically come from the project customer. I experienced this situation with a software development group that hired me to write documentation. The development team reviewed the documentation I wrote, but the director of product management approved the final documentation, including the content, format, and delivery method. She was the project customer. If the project customer is a group, you also need to identify the one person with final authority known as the project sponsor. The sponsor controls the funding for the project and might also provide or prioritize resources for the project. Test your customer identifying skills with this scenario. You show up to talk about putting together an open house for the new office space and find 3 people in the conference room. Dominic is the business manager and starts by describing the purpose of the open house, the ideas he has about when to hold it, the food to serve, and activities to plan. Beth is the business owner. She tells you that Dominic knows what she has in mind for the project and then gives you her budget for the open house. Tony is handling the design and construction of the new space. Who's the customer? As the business owner, Beth is going to provide the funding. She confirms her role as moneybags by telling you the budget. Tony is going to tell you what's great about the new space, but Dominic is the one who describes the purpose of the project and communicates several objectives. Beth also communicated her trust in him to do things right, so Dominic is the customer in this case. Of course, it's still a good idea to ask questions to confirm this conclusion. As you can see, a lot can go into identifying the project customer. Once you've identified who your customer is, it's time to figure out just what they want.